Good morning. August 24th, 2024. We're here with representatives of the Eaton family, new inductees to the Ellensburg Rodeo Hall of Fame, second generation John and Bob Eaton. Gentlemen, thanks for being here.
Good evening.
Thank you.
For the record, give us your full names, birthplace, and date of birth. We'll start with you, John.
Okay, John Nason Eaton, and I was born in July 19th, 1947, and in Spokane, Washington.
Bob.
I go by Bob, but it's Robert Allen Eaton, and I was born May 19th, 1956, and I was born here in Ellensburg, Washington.
Okay. So sometime in that decade between 47 and 56, your family moved to the Kittitas Valley, is that right?
They came, they bought the place in 1949
Okay.
and moved here in 50. I was about 4, and my other brother Ken was he wasn't even a year old yet.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Were your family ranchers in the Spokane area, or?
they had some cattle and they farmed up there also.
Okay.
It was in the Plummer area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your family, your parents, and their backgrounds.
Dad was Jack Eaton, and mother Benita.
Still living?
And she's still living. Turned 96 here in June, and so
Will she join us this evening?
Yeah.
she will.
Great.
Yeah. They farmed there just out of Plummer to the south, and Mom was actually raised in a little town called Sanders, Idaho, and rode a school bus to Plummer, and that's where they went to school together and met each other and
Childhood sweetheart.
Yeah.
grew up.
She talks about Dad picking her up in the stock truck to take him on a date.
That's ranchy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, your family's sure well thought of and respected in this country. I didn't know if you'd been here forever, or the Nason middle name has nothing to do with Ida Nason and.
Not that. My grandpa was Noah Nason.
Okay.
And so it was named after, and he went by NN or Bill. Mainly they called him Bill.
Okay.
But that was where I got my name.
Origin.
And, yeah.
Yeah. We've been here, I guess the family's been here 75 years
Wow.
in all, so.
Was the
yeah.
place in the canyon where they moved to from Plummer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was there when you showed up?
Well, there was a lot of older buildings
Okay.
that
Okay.
were there.
So it had been.
It was a working
It was a
cattle
working
ranch.
ranch.
I think it was at that time called the V9 ranches, and the property off of number 6, the Jacobs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was tied, they were both tied together,
Okay.
and then got split.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'd forgot about the place at the mouth of the canyon.
Yeah.
Okay. So was that the home place, or was down the canyon the home place?
Down the canyon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we didn't have the places up here yet.
I see.
No.
And Grandpa and the family, just my brother and I and my mom and dad, lived down there on the lower place.
Good.
Till I was about 4th grade, and then we moved up here. I think it was in 1957 or so. We moved up here to what was called an Anderson place. It was out on Umtanum Road. If you go Umtanum, like from McDonald's out.
How far up there was it?
Just right south of Anderson Hay.
Oh, okay.
Is where kind of kitty corner from the sheriff's department and all that.
Yeah.
That's in there.
And,
Pre-interstate.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pre-interstate, yeah.
Yeah.
And Grandma and Grandpa had the, where the old, well, it's now the disposal, city
Oh,
the
yeah.
water
Sewer
treatment
place,
plant and everything. They lived there, and so there was 400 acres of irrigated property
River
That
bottom
was
land that was
in there.
pretty nice ground.
Yeah,
Okay.
before the freeway cut through
They
things.
they leveled all that ground in there, and then Mattoon Lake and all that, that was all part of our hayfields.
Yeah.
All that stuff, so
Yeah,
that was before I-90 came through.
yeah.
Those ponds, weren't they created by a need for fill for the interstate? So Mattoon was a wetland probably.
Yes.
But not a lake as we know it today.
Yeah,
It wasn't, it was hayfield when we had it.
Okay.
yeah,
And so they dug that all for the freeway.
yeah.
You mentioned your grandparents, your dad's parents, is that? Okay.
Right.
And so they moved to the valley with you from
Yeah,
Butler?
Dad and Grandpa Bill and were in a partnership together.
Okay.
And so they moved here, and his wife was Hazel. And they lived on the place down there, and then we rented about all the rest of the ground south of there, clear down to the lower end. We had the Hanson place and the Maru place, and they're all dug up lakes now
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah,
And so that ground was all rented for the cows.
What, tell us a little bit about your family, John, your wife and children.
I've got 3 kids. Janelle's the oldest daughter, and then Angela. And then Kyle's the youngest, the boy.
Yeah.
But they're like 40 and older now, so they're not all that young.
But quit aging us. I had Kyle as a student at Ellensburg High School.
Well, I think he told me he's 35.
Okay.
My birthday in June, and then,
Tell him hello for me.
yeah. And Angela's 4 years older than he is. And she's living up towards the Spokane area, up there between Edwall and Sprague.
Okay. Yeah.
And she's an architect. She helped with the high school and the junior high here
Oh,
when we were doing the remodel, and she was kind of the head for the Morgan part.
Huh, interesting.
And then the oldest, Janelle,
We get to see her some.
Yeah.
get to see her, and she married Daniel Beard, and so we're a big loop. It's right back into Rodeo again.
Thought you were done with that business, maybe. How about you, Bob?
my wife is Peggy, and we have 2 children, and they're both grown adults. My son is 30. His name is Derek, and he's an officer in the Navy,
Oh, okay.
and he's stationed over at Bremerton on USS Ohio.
Wow. Thank you for your
submarine.
service, yeah.
Yeah. And my daughter Bethany, she's a chemist working at Haas. My mind just went. Haas Steiner in Yakima.
Oh, okay.
And she's living down in Yakima, and she's 26.
All bright people, sounds like. Smart enough not to ranch, huh?
Yes, yeah.
They,
And I insert,
Sure.
I didn't do the wife, Christie.
oh, I'm sorry.
I lost her in 2020,
Oh, okay.
and she passed on from lymphoma
Oh, shoot.
in there. But she was a real part of my life, married for 49 years.
You better believe it. Personal question, feel free not to answer it, and we can cut it out, but do you see the Eaton ranches continuing in your family, or?
We want to see it continue.
Yeah,
Great.
Yeah.
yeah,
And there's some interest there with Daniel and Janelle
Terrific.
to continue. And so we'll head that way and then see how things go. As long as I'm able, I'll probably keep running some cows.
Good for you, yeah.
So,
Do you get horseback much?
No, I've given that up.
Four-wheeler?
I do the four-wheeler.
Okay.
Yeah. And we can find people that want to help you ride. And so I've kind of stayed off the horses.
Okay. Well, when you see the pictures of the cattle driving the canyon each
Yeah.
fall or spring, I can't remember when it is, it looks like you've got a couple cowboys for each cow. So
Yeah.
you can find
Yeah.
people to help ride.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Somebody's always asking, can we go with you? Can
riding.
we go with you?
Yeah, I bet.
yeah. There's been a lot of good friends and people that have helped out over the years that it's really been a part of things. Sure. Also, yeah.
Let's get down to the Ellensburg Rodeo. How did your involvement with that first begin?
We were wondering. We were trying to remember when it started.
Was Buck Miner, was he in charge of the cattle at the time?
Well,
or-
he was.
Okay.
Buck
He was
helped
a stock
and
contractor and
Ken McCrae.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
arena director.
I think Ken ended up asking us if we could use the cows because he was our vet.
Oh, sure.
And so we got the idea from him, and then we started sorting the smaller calves up to get a calf the right size by October, and they're born in the spring is kind of a tough deal.
Yeah, you're wanting to grow and they're wanting to rope them. And
Small.
So the comments from the local ropers here, these calves are big, we can't throw them down. So that was kind of tough, but the professional guys, they said they were about the most uniform bunch of calves that they roped in their circuits, so.
as a former calf roper,
Yeah.
you heard that a lot, and
But they were funky little calves, but that's where we started. And it was probably, the early 70s through the 80s
Okay.
in there.
Yeah.
yeah.
And,
We had herd size, we were running 1,200 head of mother cows, Hereford
okay.
cows. And so most of them would have calves, so we'd have 1,200 calves and so they had a large pool to try to pick from and get a group of calves that would fit for the rodeo.
Well, yeah, I
And
can
everything,
remember
so-
Buck and his crew, that was a big day, was
Yeah.
sorting day.
Yeah.
And trying to.
Yeah, sort them out.
I was telling Bob that the minor boys would go with us to help gather,
Yeah,
and they were just little guys twirling the ropes, and they didn't stick up much over the saddle horn, but they were busy
yeah.
right with us, and I don't know what age they're getting to be, but they must be around 40 or so.
Well, Troy and I were best friends growing up. And, I'm 62, and so
Oh,
he's the youngest boy. So
they're in their 50s or
Yeah.
no, Troy's the youngest. So Pat and Brent and Mike,
Yeah.
they're all older than 62. I know.
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's fun to see that next generation of
Uh-huh.
yeah.
cowboys come along. Either one of you compete or have any interest in rodeo other than the contracting side?
We didn't
Yeah.
do anything as a family
Yeah.
in there. We kept plenty busy at home.
You had stuff
On the ranch,
That's right.
yeah.
And so none of us felt like we were very good ropers or anything. So we could maybe get a loop on a calf once in a while.
Get the job done if you
Yeah.
need it done.
Had
Yeah.
fast horses so you could get down and dally it over their head.
Yeah. Well, your place down the canyon, sure a special spot. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah,
It might stay that way. Yeah.
yeah.
When we had the military along with it,
Oh,
it
okay.
made a real big unit, and that's what allowed us to run the extra set of
Oh, okay.
cows.
Yeah.
And so our unit ran clear to the divide that went to the Columbia River, and so there was a lot of country to cover horseback, and we,
So you went from the breaks of the Yakima to the breaks of the Columbia.
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 Fish down along there.
Yeah.
Look at firing center and
Yeah.
think, man, that's a lot of country.
Yeah,
Huh. You're one of the few civilians that have been out through there probably.
yeah. It's a beautiful range.
Oh, man,
It
yeah.
was. I don't know what it's like now.
Sure.
but-
When did, was that pre-military or the military allowed you to run cattle on?
It
That
was
was-
during the military.
Okay.
They were out
They
there.
were there, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And we had a lease with about 5 other families
Oh,
that were in there. And so there was Martinez people on
sure.
the south
Yeah.
and Gamble people.
Mhm.
And then Hunsinger down on the riverside, the
Oh,
Columbia
okay,
Riverside. And we had kind of this northwest corner
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
ground, fit right against our ground before the 82 was in there.
Oh, sure, yeah. Pre-90 and pre-82.
Yeah,
You guys
yeah.
saw some change.
yeah, yeah.
When did is that when the firing center range was done, when I-82 came through, or?
No, we stayed out there for a few more years. Can't just remember for sure, but we brought the cattle in, gathered in the firing center, and came in under the bridges there at Lamoma Creek, or
Okay.
back then it was called Squaw Creek.
I was trying to
Yeah,
remember
Yeah.
what it was when it wasn't politically
Yeah,
correct, but that's
yeah.
right, that's exactly right.
and John had a picture of showing the cattle gathering, and it's quite a
That's
picture.
impressive, I bet, yeah.
And everything coming down through. And,
From the time you showed up until the time you didn't, were you always in the Hereford business, or did that change over time?
Dad and Grandpa were
Yeah.
Hereford people through and through.
Yeah.
And they brought Herefords down from
Idaho.
Idaho when they
Okay.
came. And they stayed with the Herefords. Right at the very last, I got my grandpa to cross a few with some Simmental
Oh, okay.
cattle. And we tried some of them when I got out of college in '69. I was offered a job with All West Breeders and Select Sires.
Yeah,
And they wanted a technician in the area that was doing the dairies here. And so I got that job, and I was seeing some of these calves on my own Hereford cows that I had. And so I was AIing some of them, and really made a pretty nice cross. And I had my grandpa tell me once, he looked at them, he said, "These are really good looking calves," he said.
we're not gonna breed any bulls, but good job.
Yeah. I think the closest we ever came to changing too much, we finally put some Angus bulls on the cows there towards the end, and had black volley calves.
Okay, and that was when you were still providing for the Ellensburg Rodeo, wasn't it?
No, I think we were
towards the end of it.
primarily,
Yeah.
I thought I
just the
wrote the
Hereford.
black volley
That could
Eaton
be.
calf in
Yeah.
about, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, we changed.
yeah, we
a few of those.
changed some, yeah,
It sure was neat though, when those
yeah,
Hereford cows and calves showed up, and I mean, you just, the iconic pictures, there's that one of Bob Bragsdale and the sun coming up, you know, and
yeah,
that calf, man, that was neat stuff.
Pre-rodeo time, we used to drive off the hill
yeah,
to the south, and we would come down around the Tozier Orchards up there
Okay.
and cross the creek right there and come up number 6 road. And
okay.
you get all those cows strung out there, they reach clear to T. Josem, you know.
I suppose,
And
yeah.
people would come out and watch their own, or driveways for us. And then we'd come across T. Josem and go into the irrigated pieces across the railroad and the highway there.
Huh.
And
So you had access all the way from the canyon place to the,
yeah,
number
off
6 road.
off of the hill, right here, the sagebrush, right at the
Yeah.
top of the hill.
okay, okay.
yeah,
And we'd come down around that way, and we didn't have to truck them all the time that way. The only thing we got worried about was the railroad. We didn't know quite when that train schedule was gonna be.
Got it.
And we tried to time that. We could at least stop the people on the highway, but not the train.
No mercy there.
no,
Yeah.
Bob, let's start with you. Special memories or closing comments for the folks that are going to see this.
Like John and I were talking, it was always a highlight as kids come up for the rodeo breakfast and kick things off and everything, but just, you know, being a part of the Ellensburg Rodeo with supplying the cows and calves was exciting, and it was always fun to watch the calves in the calf rope and shoot across the arena as they were trying to catch them and get them down, and then when they used the cows for the wild cow milking, and the poor cowboys were getting drug all over, and they'd get maybe a squirt of milk and run for the judge, and half of them would forget to put the thumb over the bottle, and they'd get there and it'd be empty.
So out of air,
yeah. But it was just a fun, exciting time and everything, so, yeah.
How about you, John?
Yeah, to be able to get off of the place and come to town. That was kind of a big thing, and the breakfast here was always a big deal in town, where you could go down and sit right downtown and listen to the music and have breakfast in town. So it was always a highlight of our year.
Yeah, well, that's neat. Well, thank you both for being here. Your family's well-deserving and an important part of our Ellensburg Rodeo.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Have fun.
Yeah, thank you.